Hey guys, welcome back to Say What Reacts. We are back again.
We are back
with a Carlos reaction.
Hometown handsome.
Hometown handsome. Not quite worldwide. We're just gonna keep it at a hometown.
On a hometown basis.
So for those of you who are new here, Carlos is in the middle of going through the BTS storyline with me. Mm-hmm. And wow, holy shit, has it been amazing so far. I think we are only on, I think we've only uploaded part 3. Like, we just finished
I Need You.
We did I Need You, we did Run, we did the I Need You prologue and the Run. Yeah. So we just finished loading Run. We filmed all the way up to the highlight reel already. But we've only released up to Run so far because I'm like releasing them, like one a week or whatever. But oh my god, some of the shit that he says in these reactions and just his interpretation, and it's hitting hard for him. He's even shed a couple tears, I'm just saying. So yeah, it's really, really good, and I'm loving how much he's loving the storyline and just really taking it on kind of himself in a personal way.
For sure.
But yeah, he's really enjoying it. If you guys didn't see the introduction video where I introduced BTS to him, yeah, he loved it. He was like, yeah. I get it. Like, I get it. Oh my god, yeah.
They have a lot of cool shit going on for themselves as human beings and as artists, and I appreciate it very much.
Yeah, exactly. So Suga, aka Augusti, aka Minyoongi. So this is we're gonna check out because I love to hear Carlos's interpretation of things. I love it. He's very like perceptive when it comes to things, and I love to hear what he comes up with. And so I wanted to introduce the trilogy that is Daechwita, Haegeum, and Amygdala to Carlos. So first things we're gonna do, because I want him to be able to focus on the visuals of the video, we're actually on dual set. I'm going to read the lyrics of each one of them separately out loud first, and then we'll do the video separate as the second thing. So we'll do the lyrics for Daechwita, and then we'll watch Daechwita, then the lyrics for Haegeum, we'll watch Haegeum. Okay, so we're going to do it like that, because I want him to be able to focus on the video and not catching every lyric flying by the screen. You know what I'm saying? Because I think the lyrics are extremely important, but I also want to hear what he's getting from the visuals as well. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah. Okay, so let's start this. Yes, I'm on dual set. We're just going to go through the lyrics real quick. So it says, note, Daechwita literally means a great blowing and hitting, is a genre of Korean traditional music consisting of military music played by wind and percussion instruments, greatly performed while marching. This track contains a sample from Daechwita by National Gugak Center. The center also has video clips on YouTube. Okay, and I don't know if you guys, hold on. Should I put this on the screen for you guys? I mean, we're just on dual set. You're not really going to be able to see this. That's why I really wasn't going to put this, because it's so small on the screen. So I wasn't really going to put this, but we are on dual set right now reading the lyrics. So I'm not going to bother with putting this on the screen because you can't see it anyway. So just know that that's where we're at right now. So, Daechwita, Daechwita, hey, play it loud, Daechwita. And he repeats that. And it says, Daechwita, Daechwita, hey, play it loud, Daechwita. It shines, my crown shines. Don't forget the old days. We so fly, on a chartered airplane, we so fly. Born a slave, risen to a king, a tiger who's gone crazy, Gwang Hae flow. And then she has the notes as background as to the context of what this means. So no, Gwang Hae Gun was the 15th king of the Joseon dynasty. He was disposed and not restored and given the temple name. The born a slave, risen to a king line seems to be based on the fictional plot of the 2012 movie Masquerade, where a king finds a double in order to avoid the constant threat of assassination. There's also a 2019 drama, The Crowned Clown, which is a remake of Masquerade. So that's what they believe is the background and the meaning of this phrase. So, tiger who's gone crazy, Gwang Hae flow. Rags to riches, that's exactly the way I live. I'm sorry, but don't worry about me. I have lots to lose. I trapped the past into a rice chest. Note, the above line references the story of the Crown Prince Sado, who died of starvation being confined in a rice chest, which was by the order of his father. It's fucked up. Literally, the fucking king like forced his prince son into a rice chest to where he ended up starving to death and dying.
That's just crazy, bro.
Nuts.
History's crazy, bro.
Yeah, it is. So yeah, I have lots to lose. Trap the past in a rice chest, and I'll take mine and eat them all. Calling me a dog, it doesn't make sense. I was born a tiger, not a weak like you, at least. So reference to Give It To Me, which is another one of his songs. Born a tiger, I can't live like a dog. Double entendre, that means can be.
Yeah.
And then to be weak, and then to do drugs.
Right.
So like the translation in the actual lyric video says, I was born a tiger, I'm not a weak pill popper like you.
Right.
Is the translation of the video.
Yeah.
A talent show of petty little shits. Honestly, I find it fucking ludicrous. I'll kill you all, no courtesy. You bastard, yeah, you, no exception. Flexing, I don't do it. I don't need it. Who's the king? Who's the boss? Everyone knows my name. These bastards who are all talk. Cut his head off immediately. The above line is something you'd hear in historical dramas when executing someone as shown in the MV.
Right.
And then we have the chorus again. And then we have, after making a good haul, I fly on a chartered airplane right away. To contain me, this country is still small. Woo, who said time is money? My time is more expensive. TikTok, you bastards with a stick up your ass. And then that says, this word, a virtuous classical scholars, sonbi, are virtuous classical scholars during the Goryeo and Joseon dynasties. These days, this is used as a slang to describe someone who's always serious, ethically conservative, not fun, and inclined to make objections about other people's opinions. So that's why he's saying, like, you gotta have a stick up your ass.
Yeah.
I spit in your face. The revenue has never gone down, and Bang Shihyuk PD is dancing every day, which is their, the guy that you got introduced to in the intro.
Yeah.
I'm so thankful that I'm a genius. Doing drugs is such a petty excuse. I feel sorry for you. It's just that you have no talent. I've got everything I wanted. I wonder what else should I have to feel satisfied. The clothes I wanted, and then the money, and then the good goal, and then the goal, and then what should come next. This is when you kind of have a change in beat and change in flow. And he's like, yeah, what would come next? I suddenly realized where I am, the current situation where I have nothing above me. So, side note, this word is an abbreviation of a wise man time, or reality realizing time. A slang that describes a mental status where you have no greed or desire because you realize that the desire is meaningless, or the moment when you come back to reality after being completely absorbed in something. Side note, I don't think it's necessary to point out, but I'm just going to put it here since many are taking the origin of this word as the only meaning of it. The origin of this slang, the first one, a wise man's time, is related to the feelings of a man after masturbation, a sense of fulfillity and guilt after pursuing or experiencing sexual pleasure. The word became to be used more widely with different meanings on the internet, in everyday conversations, and even on TV. It refers to the moment when one, A, realizes reality while exploring unrealistic ideas and hopes, or B, suddenly loses the passion for something that they have been devoting themselves to. I personally read this line as something along the line of, I've achieved everything and there's nothing above me, now what? Not related to the literal origin of the word. Yeah, so yeah, what would come next? I suddenly realize where I am, the current situation where I have nothing above me. I, who has only been looking up, now would like to just look down and put my feet on the ground like that. I'm a king, I'm a boss, remember my name, these bastards who are all talk, twist his legs immediately. This is also something you'd hear in historical dramas when torturing a suspect. I'm a king, I'm a boss, everyone knows my name, these bastards who are all talk, cut off his head immediately, Daechwita, play loud, Daechwita. So, that's the song, okay? So, now with everything that you heard me just read,
right,
and that you've read along with me,
yeah,
let's see the MV.
Right on.
Okay. Oh, I'm so excited. Okay. I hope you guys are excited too. And if you guys don't want to have to sit through the reading of the next ones, just skip past that. I totally understand you might already have read the meaning or have seen the translations. So you may not want to read through the meaning. That's totally fine. But he has not. So, right. And I want him.
This has been like popular demand. Like a lot of, like even before we started the BTS stuff. I guess when people will not. I guess they found out. I'm very vocal about it, that I too rap, and a lot of my perspective on rap is different from a lot of other people's in the aspect of it, because I understand it culturally differently, And I've been super excited about this shit to hear fucking Suga from D-Town.
Yes. So yeah, you guys ready? I'm so fucking excited. Okay, let's go. Oh, and I will pause at one point just to point out something that's just kind of fun and funny.
Okay.
But it's towards the beginning. I'll pause and I'll tell you. Pause warning.
They know what fucking time it is, bro.
Let's hope they do.
Yeah.
That's Jin and JK.
Okay. I was gonna wonder. I was like, does fucking like Suga have his D-Town boys in this video?
It's just tight. Right. That's Jin that pumps into him, and then Jin hits JK, and then JK and Jin fight in the background. It's just kind of funny. Anyway. So, what you think?
It's like a really cool video. It's got a lot of like a lot of concepts. Obviously, like we read the lyrics before this shit, and it's talking about like a lot of like classical stories, and like throughout history, like the Prince and the Pauper. Like what stands out to me is like a old Japanese movie called Kagemusha. So Kagemusha pretty much means like shadow warrior, but it doesn't mean like if you watch like Naruto and like ninja shit, it's like in terms of like a deception technique, like copying yourself or cloning yourself to like either fake your death or whatever. But the term Kagemusha was officially for like a body double. So like when kings during warring times and shit like that, they would get someone that looks like them, fake their own assassination, or like as a diversion to hide and shit like that. But in the movie Kagemusha, the king in himself gets wounded, and he always had like this body double that would like taste his food and like go out in public and shit like that. But as he's dying and like the last few days that he's alive, like he asks for the body double to come and talk to him, and he was just like, yo, you gotta keep like not just my legacy alive, but like their faction for where they're fighting for and shit. Like, yo, keep this shit alive. And like nobody knows that the king like has the body double is the actual king, because he was just like, I want to talk to him by himself, because the only person that would know that the king is like dying is like his right hand man, but he sends him to go get his body double, and then he sends him away. So he just has this conversation with him, and he's just like pretty much tells him, he was just like, I'm really dying, but we're gonna fake my death, and I'm gonna be you. But you need to keep everybody like together and shit. And so it's just like,
so the body double died when it was really the king that died, and now the body double
but he was
is
just
king.
And he was and like he was just like nobody. Like he paid him in like rice and wine and shit. And he was just like, yeah, bro, I'll do whatever for you. I'm loyal to you and all this. And he was like, nah, this shit's like bigger than hip hop.
Like, I don't think you understand.
Yeah. And so, but pretty much like he so when he like comes out, he wounds himself or whatever, and it's like he gets sick because the wound got infected and shit like that. So, but that allows him to like learn. So he learns all the history of like what the king was doing and what they're doing, and him being like a peasant coming from nothing and like becoming a king overnight. Literally, it means more to him too, because it's like prosperity for everybody else. So that's like a cool like aspect of it in terms of like, for the lyrics, was like kind of showing like the dark side of that, like the king like killing his son. On
the lyric side, like the translation of like put shove the past into a rice chest lyric.
Right. But I think more of like that aspect of like him seeing, this other version of himself and like killing him. That's what reminded me more of like that Kagemusha thing.
Yeah. No, but why do you think the version that did the killing would want to kill him?
Well,
based on what you saw in this video.
Yeah. Well, it's just also too like if we were to use like the way that the era that they live in or whatever, I think it's kind of like the town is kind of like grimy, because it's like they show like the butchers and shit like that, and even though just people like running into each other in the street and they're fighting amongst each other, so it's like these like little snapshots of like the world that are going in here, and him like coming up, it's also kind of like maybe like the change of time, you know what I mean? It's like the way that you run this shit isn't the way that we should be doing things, and it's like there's a new era coming in, and it's just like, this is how we're living in the street while you're up here. You might be a warlord or whatever, and it's just like you're sitting pretty over here, but obviously like using force. Yeah, you hanging all the heads outside of your gates and shit, and it's just like we out here starving.
Not only that, you saw him walking on the backs of the people bowing him.
Yeah. And I don't know what it said on the back either. And it's like they couldn't even look at him. They're wearing cloaks and shit. So it's just like, this motherfucker's got to go. And even to the point where the executioner's in on it. He's just like, yo, fucking. Here's
Did you notice the executioner was in the alleyway?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And like it's like playing like the whole city was like against the king or whatever, because as he's walking
because of how he's treating them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that's like an interesting
thing.
But what I like about it the most is like how it conveys like how Suga is obviously like talking to people in the world. Yeah. But he's using himself as the analog.
Right.
So rather than like try to get somebody to portray these or personify these bodies in the video, he uses himself. And I think that's really like, that's super fucking rad. Because at the end of the day, bro, we're windows and mirrors. You know what I'm saying? Like, people are going to hate on you, or they're going to appreciate you because, they either see themselves in you, or they see things in you that they would like for themselves. But I like how Suga uses himself. as the analog. That like I'm also like I'm the problem, but I'm also the solution too.
Well, he also uses himself because a lot of this, although he is talking about other people, that one lyric where that shift happens and you hear the change and the cadence and the tone and everything, and he calms down. That's the part where he's like, where there's nowhere to go from here. I just want to put my feet on the ground and just, you know, I don't want to be up and up and up anymore. I want to be
I walked
grounded.
that path and look where it got me.
Right, and that's kind of what he's saying here, and that's why he's killing off the king. He's like, I don't want to end up being that person. Right. I want to be this person. You know.
Right.
So yeah, I love that.
But like that line we're reading the lyrics of like the wise man thing about the post nut clarity or whatever, I thought that was funny.
Yeah.
But like in that if you look at it in more of like a philosophical spiritual aspect, it's just like, you know, wise men can admit that they know nothing, and it's people that like don't know shit that think they know everything. So it's like, but it takes a path of full circle. So it could be how this is being presented of like the clash of like modern time and olden times, of like eras that change, of mistakes, but it's also like how you made like your path of walking, like, I think that I need this, stepping on the backs of other people, but then when I get to the top and realize that it's like that's not the way. But the only one you can, when it comes to ourselves personally, the only people that can change us are ourselves. So I like that dynamic of it as well too, of kind of like recognizing
and wanting to change,
and using that imagery of like past and future things, because it's like he's not rolling up with a whole squad. He's rolling up in a fucking sedan with his homeboys, you know, with no weapons, you know. So it's kind of like, it's one of those things.
No weapons, but then also at the end, it's like, you don't bring a sword to a gunfight.
Right.
You know?
And you would think he would probably know about that shit, because like as he's rapping from his perspective, walking his way to get executed, like this guy, this version of Suga is like dancing like he's taunting him. Yeah. Like he thinks he's untouchable. He does. Like, he
totally thinks he's untouchable. He's like, he ain't gonna do shit.
Yeah.
And in the meantime, you see all these people in the squad kind of nodding with the other guy, and he's like, "What the fuck?" Yeah.
So I think that's.
But he just still sat there, like stood there, like, and what? You're not gonna do shit.
Right.
He's still that confident, and well.
And it's and like going back, because I've mentioned this in a couple other videos, like Jet Li's Hero. I talk about that a lot, and like because there's a big segment of that movie of like music. Music plays a big like fight. There's a big battle scene in that where the Jet Li and Donnie Yen fight, but it's like in their mind, and it was like in the EXO videos of like when they're sitting across from each other, and it's just like what's going on in their mind, and they actually like go to fight, and then it's like a stalemate or whatever. Yeah. But like in a similar aspect to that, because the main plot of Hero is that Jet Li is an assassin, and he's like the baddest assassin, but he's a cop, and he came up from like nothing.
Oh yeah.
And the emperor, who was like running China at the time, like through his like escapades and his like moving up to the top and like getting his power and shit, like slotted Jet Li's family, like killed him when he was young. So Jet Li did like some fucking Halati shit. Like he worked the ranks as a police official and got into this position, and he actually went to like all the threats of the emperor himself, and he was just like, I know how to kill him. And they're just like, nah man, we're over it. Like the war's over, like everything's done. And Jet Li's just like, no, I got this. Like, I really know how to figure this out. And like the emperor knows the whole time. Like, because he's a general, he's been battling, and he was just like, there's no way, I've spent my whole life trying to capture these people, there's no way that you were able to kill them in a month. And then now you're here. So, but he gets to him, and he's just like, why are you really here? And then Jet Li, through his journey, realizes that even though the emperor was like a bad dude on the battlefield, he did unify China. And through his exploits at the end, being on top and alone, he realized like, I probably shouldn't have killed as many people as I did. I shouldn't have gone about it the way I did, but that's wisdom. But at
the end, we did get what we needed
needed. Yeah. And then at the end of that, like Jet Li sacrifices himself at that point. Like he doesn't kill him, and he walks out, but the emperor is like, I can't let you walk out of here alive. So so they execute. So I kind of feel like that kind of vibe as well too, of like that full circle of like Suga being a young man, of like his aspirations of like being a rapper and battling, his idea of what it was and how he got there. But then when he kind of like transcended that and became successful on his own talent, he realized like, I see what it does to other people that don't grow. And I've had the opportunity to grow, and I've changed since then. So my perspective has changed, and now that I'm a different person, I can now present, let me try to break it down to the people that I've left behind, or the people that refuse to grow. Like, let me speak to you in your own language. Because you don't respect me in what I do now, and that's fine. So I'll meet you halfway. And if the message is clear, you know where I'm at. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I kind of get of like this conflict of the antagonist and protagonist being himself, but also two different time periods.
Yeah.
So I like that a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that
when you just talked about, like, no growth, you know what it just reminded me of? So I know I've played the ciphers for you, like, a while ago, but one of the lines in the ciphers was, I think RM says it actually, he calls the other guy as the old caterpillar.
Yeah.
Caterpillars
don't grow.
They
get make that metamorphosis.
Well, they're not old because they turn into butterflies. Right. So if you're an old caterpillar, something went wrong and you have no growth. Yeah. So yeah, that's what it just reminded me of when you were just like the no growth thing. I'm just like, it reminded me of the you old caterpillar line. I mean, because literally that's like kind of what it is, you know. But yeah, so good first video, huh?
Yeah, it's really cool.
Really, really good. Okay. So, let's move into, I know this video is going to take us a long time, and I knew that going in that this video is going to take a long time. But it needs to, because the shit's, I mean, these lyrics are deep. We're talking about Suga, okay? Like, yeah. So, and we want to make sure that we're, does Dulcet not have Haegeum on, oh, I spelled it wrong, just kidding. I did UE instead of EU. I'm like, does Dulcet not have Haegeum? Yeah, of course they do. Okay, so Haegeum just came out this year. Haegeum came out first, and then Amygdala came out after. So let's go ahead and read the lyrics for Haegeum next. The word pronounced Haegeum has multiple meanings. The two used in this song are a traditional Korean instrument, so as you can see the similarities, a two-string vertical fiddle that can be seen and heard prominently in the first 15 seconds of the clip above, which I'm not going to be able to play that. Or number two, the lifting of a ban or prohibition. So the lyrics of this, by the way, so good. Like, oh my god, I was pausing so much and I'm like, fucking talk your shit. This is the shit that needs to be said. Right. He is spitting words, people. Are you listening? I was so excited listening to this for the first time. Right. These lyrics are so good. Okay. The song is a Haegeum, get on it now. Bustling rhythm, maybe. This would also be another Haegeum. The song is Haegeum. Okay, so repeating. The freedom to interpret however one wants. Stupid nonsense should be ruled out. The freedom to express whatever one wants. Perhaps that becomes the reason for someone's death. And I'm like, if that's not what's happening, like, just in the world, it's insane. Freedom to express whatever one wants. Perhaps that becomes the reason for someone's death. Such freedom be allowed as freedom. Are there definite convictions behind your judgment and speculation? Do you believe that your freedom is on the same level as others? If so, don't hesitate and just get on board. Liberation from the forbidden. For those living in this unfortunate era who won't even understand their own tastes, this song is simply freeing the forbidden. But I truly hope you differentiate freedom from self-indulgence. And that's, that line, like, freedom isn't the same as self-indulgence. You can't, like, confuse the two, because that's not going to end up working in the long run for you, honey. Okay. And then the chorus repeats. And then we have, a flood of information prohibits the freedom of imagination and at the same time wants to have our thoughts standardized. Oh, is that not like, oh my God, yes. Like, it's so true. There's so much like information on the internet, but a lot of times it's so much information that they want you to have, you know, that so that you will believe what they want you to believe. You know what I mean? Like, it's crazy. All those noises make our heads hurt, blind us, and now violate the freedom of thought even. All those controversies cause confusion and judgment and ceaselessly get produced again. What would it be that restricted us? Would it be possible that we did it ourselves? Slaves to capitalism, slaves to money, slaves to hatred, prejudice and revulsion, slaves to YouTube, slaves to flexing. He literally says YouTube as he's playing a video on fucking YouTube. I love it. Slaves to flexing. Selfishness and greed are frantically rampaging. Turn a blind eye and it's all easy. It's all obvious. Opinions are so transparently driven by interest. Everyone is blinded by envy and jealousy without even realizing that they're putting shackles on each other. I hope we don't get swept away by the tsunami of information, because all we can differentiate freedom, because we all can differentiate freedom from self-indulgence. And if I'm not wrong, that is the end. Yes. Those lyrics, though.
Yeah.
He's so good. He's just so good. I love this. I love the lyrics of this song so much because it's deep shit that needs to be talked about, that needs to be said, that, you know, needs to be recognized. I appreciate it so much because people aren't saying these things necessarily. Like, a lot of people aren't talking about shit like this, and it needs to be fucking talked about.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just love it. Okay, so we are on Haegeum. All right, let's do this. I love this video.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. 이 노래는 지금 yeah. 올라타봐 지금 yeah. 독착되는 리듬 어쩌면 이 또한 또 다른 흐금 yeah. 이 노래는 지금 yeah. 올라타봐 지금 yeah. 독착되는 리듬 어쩌면 이 또한 또 다른 흐금 yeah. 이 노래는 해금 yeah. 올라타봐 지금 yeah. 독착되는 리듬 어쩌면 이 또한 또 다른 해금 yeah. 해석되는 자유 yeah. 개소리는 out yeah. 표현들의 자유 어쩌면 누군가의 기분 달고 무한 자유 일런지 당신의 판단과 추측이 확실한 신념들이 있는지 당신의 자유와 타인의 자유가 동일하다 믿는지 그렇다면 주저 말고 올라타봐 금지된 것들로 부통해봐 각자의 취향조차 이해들을 못하는 불행을
You see what's happening? He's fucking actually smoking. There ain't no lollipops in this one.
Right.
It's like, and it's like freedom from the forbidden. Like, I'm just like, yes, no lollipops in this. This ain't the BU. I was like, yes. I mean, smoking's bad. Don't smoke. But I'm just saying, like, I'm like the liberation from all that's forbidden. Like,
right.
And then you see the scene. I'm like, I see what you did there. I see what you did there.
이 노래는 해금 올라타봐 지금 복작되는 리듬 또 다른 해금 이 노래는 해금 올라타봐 지금 복작되는 리듬 어쩌면 이 또한 또 다른 해금 이 노래는 해금 올라타봐 지금 복작되는 리듬 어쩌면 이 또한 또 다른 해금 상상의 자유들을 금지시킨 가동시의 사상의 통일성을 원해 왜 나머지 앞에 같이 모이주는 눈을 가리고 이제는 생각에 좌우조치 범의 각종 논란들은 판단들의 혼란들을 야기시키고 또 쓸데없이 생산되네 과연을 금지시킨 건 무엇일까 어쩌면 우리 자신 아닐까 사번의 노예 돈들의 노예 중고생각 편견 혐오의 노예 유튜브의 노예 플렉스의 노예 이기심과 탐욕의 미천한 신의 눈 감으면 편해 모든 게 변해 이득에 따라서 뻔히 갈리는 결의 시기와 질투에 다들 말해 눈들이 먼해 서로가 서로에게 족쇄를 거는 것도 모른 채 정보의 쓰나미에서 쓸려내려가지 말게 우린 자유와 방종의 차이지만 모두 구분하니 이 노래는 해금 올라타봐 지금 복작되는 리듬 또 다른 해금 이 노래는 해금 올라타봐 지금 복작되는 리듬 어쩌면 이 또한 또 다른 해금 이 노래는 해금 올라타봐 지금 복작되는 리듬 어쩌면 이 또한 또 다른 해금 이 노래는 해금 올라타봐 지금 복작되는 리듬 어쩌면 이 또한 또 다른 해금 이 노래는 해금 올라타봐 지금 복작되는 리듬 어쩌면 이 또한 또 다른 해금
That's some Dark Knight shit.
Yeah.
또 다른 해금.
So, yeah.
I like the styles of these videos so far because it's like, one, he's got fucking fire bars and fire beats. I like that. But then two, it's like it's a lot of shit that conceptually, like how I resonate with RM as a human being now in my life of what I like to do with everything I've experienced. But like seeing through Suga, it's like that's like what I grew up on. I grew up like on martial arts, like kung fu war epics and shit, but also grew up on like John Woo, like gritty Hong Kong fucking brotherly bloodshed is the genre that they call on there. And like I like how he's kind of portraying himself as a criminal, but we don't know that yet.
Yeah.
But he's also portraying himself as like a cop that we find out that the cop is also corrupt. But with him being corrupt, there's consequences to that action and shit. And I like that. How
I love how much you perceive in these. This makes me so happy.
How in the first video, it's like this. It's an evolution of the same person, right? Like old times of the generation is like, but we can see like in the first video, fighting for what's fair and what's right for survival is different for what's fair and what's right, 1,000 years later.
Right.
That's an extreme, but
yeah.
Hundreds of years later of the eras as they change. And I like how he doesn't have a scar. So like the corrupt cop version of Suga is the old regime. Like what once worked doesn't work anymore.
Yeah.
And now in the world that we have, it's like, even though you have come from like dire straits and you're downtrodden and come from the bottom, from rags to riches, once you get comfortable in that, you ultimately become everything that you hate or everything that you've opposed over time.
Yeah.
And seeing that opposite side of like having someone come up who is respected in the community because like there is no conflict, even though he's walking around with like thugs and shit in the beginning, like, but there's no like hostility really. Right. Versus like in the first video, he couldn't walk down the street even though he had respect from certain people, but people were still out there fucking fighting amongst themselves and shit. But he's fucking just killed a cop and ride around in a cop car.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like the cops are down and like, not that he's like untouchable or anything like that, but it's just to me it's like a thing of perception versus reality, and like how wisdom will get you a lot farther in life than material value. Mm-hmm. Because if the system is corrupt, if there's the foundation's got cracks in it, you know what I mean? Like, and it's not, that's, even though it's still standing doesn't necessarily mean that it's stable.
Yeah. And
he, even to the point of like when he's being confronted like about the money, he's just like, that shit don't mean anything.
Yeah, burn it.
Yeah.
It doesn't, this isn't what it's about.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
And I really like,
but the other guy gets pissed. He's like, you can fucking burn my money? Because he's corrupt.
Right. But also at the same time as well, I think like going back to like, there's a lot of fucking good ass movies.
References.
Yeah, to this, but like to me, like, so there's two things. There's one movie you might have seen like in the past like 15 years, like The Departed with Matt Damon.
Oh, I love The Departed. That's one movie I could talk about with you all day long. He always references movies, and I'm like, I've never seen it, but oh my god, I love Departed's one of my favorite movies.
All right, so I'm about to put you on game, right?
Okay.
So The Departed is actually an American remake of a Hong Kong movie called Infernal Affairs.
I haven't seen that, but yes, I do know that it's a remake.
All right, so in Infernal Affairs, that movie's about, well, obviously it's like in the same concept of The Departed, to where it's just like ultimately two brothers are raising up. One is the actual son of the gangster who runs the underworld and tries to move up, and the other guy is an adopted son who's like the mark. We're putting them in the system so we can get our information like fed into it. Yeah. But then there's another third party, Leonardo DiCaprio's character is the undercover cop. Yeah. Who realizes like this shit is bigger than what we thought. Because he was like, okay, we're just like, my investigation was on this family, but I found out that they've got more than just like actual informants. They have people like in power, in play, that are actually like pseudo legit. Yeah. Because like Matt Damon is actually like a really good cop. Yeah. He just happens to be feeding a little, like he's not hurting anybody per se. He's just feeding information to protect his family specifically, allowing them to like make their moves and shit. But there's another movie that came out years before Infernal Affairs, because Infernal Affairs came out like in the early 2000s, but in the 80s, one of my favorite movies by John Woo with my man Chow Yun-Fat, there's a movie called The Better Tomorrow. And that movie has a similar concept in the aspect of like There's three main characters. There's a brother and his best friend who's played by Chow Yun-fat, who's like pretty much like this guy, like just a badass motherfucker out there doing what they do, but they have like a counterfeit like operation, and his dad is sick. Not Chow Yun-fat's dad, the other guy's dad. His dad's sick, and he has a little brother, so he like wants to do this last like big job to try to like get the money for take care of his dad, and to put his brother through school, but his brother wants to be a cop. So he makes like the ultimate decision to where like, all right, this is our last gig. I'm getting out. I'm gonna retire. If my dad lives, great. If not, my brother's gonna be a cop and all this other shit. So they wind up like this crazy like weapons deal because they do counterfeit money. So like this counterfeit deal goes sideways, and his brother goes to jail. And when they're gone, it's this whole fucking intricate plot of like they got fucked over by themselves by people in their own gang, but they weren't aware of it. But shit goes sideways. The brother winds up going to jail for a long time, gets released and come back. His brother becomes a cop. Their dad dies. And it's one of those things of like, I hate everything that you represent because dad died because of you. Even like all the money that you were giving us was all dirty money and all this other bullshit. So there's like resentment towards them. And then Chow Yun-fat, his character, Mark, like he gets his leg broken because he makes it. He like makes it, they have to like split up or whatever, but he makes it. But he winds up like falling from grace. He goes from being like the top like capo in his gang to like washing their cars for the people that fucked him over. So he's just kind of like been waiting, just like abiding his time and shit. And the dude gets out of jail. He wants to like be legit and shit. And he's been waiting this whole time. He's like, yo, we can get our revenge. And he was like, my brother's not here for me. You're fucking shell of your former self and shit. Like this life as a whole isn't worth it. But then Chow Yun-fat's like, bro, I've been waiting for, this is all we got. And so they're trying to like get each other together, but it's a similar concept of like how we're rooting for the bad guys with golden hearts, but then at the end of the story it's just like the whole system's fucked. The cops know what's going on. The criminals, they're all in cahoots with each other, and so they make a decision for themselves to where it's like, fuck everybody, we gotta look out like for the family. And it's kind of like how he ends this whole process, because it's like, is he part of this gang? No. But do people fuck with him? For sure, definitely. But at the end of everything that was all said and done, he doesn't have the money, and he's just having some soup, and it's just another day in the life. Like, this guy's dead, but this is just a vicious cycle that's going to continue perpetuating over and over again. And that's how I interpret, like, when he's looking at the chopsticks and shit, it's like, well, this morning I killed a man with similar chopsticks. And
now it's something that I'm using to sustain myself.
But at the same time, how is it that you can just easily sit down and eat and accept this as a part of your life? Because but he knows, like, I just killed like one little guy of a bigger picture.
Well, yes, but it's funny that you mentioned Cycle a minute ago, because don't you see a lot of similarities to the first one?
Yeah, for sure.
So it's like, is this just another part in Suga's cycle of what's happening with him internally?
Yeah, well,
because you saw we made the correlation of what's happening with him internally in the first one, and how I don't want to be that person,
right?
And I look at Daechwita, the person who shot the king at the end of Daechwita. I see this cop character. That's him.
That's what I mean. That's what I'm saying.
And so he ended up becoming not as bad as what the king was doing,
right?
But he still ended up becoming corrupt. And he's just like, nah, it's not gonna happen. But he's but you see what I'm saying. So it's like, and you just mentioned cycle. Like it's like,
well, look at that. Like, that's absolutely correct. I agree with you. But look at it's not just a cycle of like the souls or whatever, like they're being reincarnated as a cycle, but it's not that the old way corrupted the new way, but it's just one of those things of like the things have changed, that life as a whole changed. And like for what the concept of what he's talking about in this song and how it's being portrayed visually, what he's talking about in the beginning was like personal experience and my own cycle of this is what I was, this is where I was, and this is what I thought I had to be to get there. But now that I've surpassed all of that, I realize that it was all bullshit. And like in this cycle, it's making that realization if that was just something I needed to go through. I had to go through that cycle to now have a different mindset and different perception of how life is regardless. Like in this one, and talking about of like lifting all the bands on things and the way that he carries himself, there's like a shred of cognitive dissonance of like, I'm doing bad things, but I'm doing it for what I believe personally is the right reasons, and I have my opinions, but he's not removed of the irony.
Yeah, you can see that he understands the irony.
Yeah.
Like he's smirking. He's just like, the cop car pulls up. He's like,
deeper than that.
Gotta fucking run now. Like,
deeper than that in reality, for the fact that he is a performer, that he is a rapper, and he is also a face, and he is an idol. So he's a part of the system.
Yeah.
Of all the things that he is against, that he has personal quarrels with.
Yeah, he's part of the system that has so many parts of that system that he hates.
Right, but he's a part of that system.
Yeah, exactly.
Or he's utilizing that system.
But he wants to make sure he recognizes that this is not a great system.
For sure.
To be in, but it is what it is. But you need to recognize that this is flawed. Like,
right.
And that this isn't the way it should be.
Right.
But there's only so much you can do at the same time.
But at the same, yes, to an extent, right? But we can all do things better, which he does personally in his real life. But like this freeze frame of him sitting down, his knuckles are battered, he's eating because he knows that this isn't going to change, and he knows like he doesn't agree with it, and he himself isn't really trying to change things, but it's just him coming to that realization of like, what really irks me and rubs me the wrong way is relevant. And it's part of the world that I'm conscious of, and that so many people are conscious of, and I want to voice my opinion so people can kind of make their own decisions on what is right and what is wrong, and do what they must for what they are. But at the end of the day, I'm not separate from my own critique of the outside. I'm just as guilty. Not like in terms of the first song is more of like, I played the part, we were equals, and I came above, and you've got nothing to show for it, and I'm the man. And this one's just like, I'm not. I'm just now a part of it. I thought I was better, but in the reality, I'm on equal footing with the monsters. You know what I mean? And it's like, I'm still doing just as much dirt as them. Even if on TV or materially or whatever, I may look like I'm above. But at the end of the day, how I feel about myself is like, I'm just as much as a problem as everybody else is. Yeah. I think that's fucking super rad.
Yeah, the fact that he recognizes that he's not fucking perfect either. Yeah, exactly.
And that he still has room to grow. But he's not, he's talking against all whatever corruption or whatever standard and capitalism and consumerism and all that shit. But he is super, super, super aware. Right. That's how he makes his money too.
Right. Like, he's literally just like, we're a slave to YouTube. Yeah. But his video's on YouTube.
Right,
you know what I mean? Right. So it's like...
So that's what I appreciate, because it's not like a lot of people will stand...
They try to not talk about it or recognize it or sweep it under the rug. He's just like, no, I see it, I recognize it.
And I do it too.
But it's sometimes it's what you got to do.
Yeah, but I'm not going to sit here and point the finger at somebody else and be like, how dare you?
Right, exactly.
I'm doing it too.
Right, exactly.
That's what I appreciate about this shit the most.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like individual accountability. Like, in the beginning, it's just like, yeah, man, life is shitty, all this shit's going on. But then by the end of the song, it's just like, I just can sit here and be like everybody else. I can consume all this and do all this shit, but personally, what am I personally going to do about it for myself moving forward? And I like that shit a lot. Yeah. Yeah.
He's good, man. His lyrics are always so good. All right. So, we have the last one. Now, the last one, although this is a trilogy, it will be very different from the first two. Let's look at the lyrics first for Amygdala. And... Did I fucking...
Nope.
Hold
it's
on.
Right there.
There it is.
It's at the top.
There we go. I was like, hold on, I missed the letter. I missed the Y. Okay, so it says, in season 1 of BTS in the Soup, Suga was seen reading a book titled Almond, a fiction about a boy born with his amygdala. You know what amygdala is, right?
No.
Okay, with his amygdala underdeveloped. The amygdala is an almond-shaped part of the brain that processes and triggers fear, anger, and anxiety.
So he doesn't have it, so he's just fucking fearless?
That's the it's season 1, he was reading a book titled Almond, fiction about a boy born with his underdeveloped,
okay.
yeah. Okay.
So he's not as scared, I guess?
I guess, yeah. Okay, so these are the lyrics. I don't know your name, I don't know your name, I don't know your name. How do you feel these days? I don't know your name. A journey through memories I want to have erased. How do you feel these days? 1933, the month I was born. 1933. That's old as fuck.
Yeah.
1993, the month I was born
I know
in.
you've been at this all day because there was a couple of words that you didn't, but I was just like, you know,
Look,
you've had a long day. But
I've had
on
a
that one, I was
long
just
day.
like, that one, I gotta call you out.
I
gotta call you out on that one.
Fuck my life. There's a couple of words I fucked up already.
Yeah,
Jesus Christ. My bad,
you just use different words, but they were close enough. They were close enough.
Look, I think I need glasses, to be honest. Like, I'm not even gonna joke.
I'm sure you're too old to be fucking thinking like that, bro.
No, I'm not too old to be thinking like that. I need glasses. Yeah. Look, I need to go to the eye doctor. Anyway, right. 1993, the month I was born in. My mom's heart surgery. Moving on. For the first time in my life, moving on. For the first time in my life in my mom's womb, I used to count the days until my first moving. Vague memory, the cost of my moving was a machine in my mom's heart and a big scar. Don't know, what is moving on? I don't know what that is. Is that a book? Is that something he wrote? I'm not sure. I don't know what that is. But it just says, anyway, the month I was born in, my mom's heart surgery. There have been all kinds of things. Why did it have to be so eventful? Even those memories I can't really remember. Let's take them all out one by one. The first best choices, and then the second best choices, and then the second best to the second best choices, yeah. Note from Interlude Shadow. Moving on must have been that's from another song of his. That's the lyrics from another song of his. And then note Interlude Shadow. Now I know sometimes running away is the second best. Do you get it? Only now that always doing the best is the first best. So that's a lyric from Interlude Shadow. Okay. Things I didn't want to happen, things that were out of my control. Let's put them all in one by one. Yeah, 1 and 2. Yeah, 1 and 2. I don't know your name. A journey through memories. I don't know your name. Let's erase them all one by one. Yeah, 1 by 1. My amygdala, hurry and save me. Hurry and save me. My amygdala, hurry and get me out. Hurry and get me out. My amygdala, save me from here. Hurry and get me out quickly. And in the lyrics in the actual music video are slightly different than this. This is the translations that she provides are more like closer, I think.
Yeah, more accurate to vernacular than the actual literal translation.
Yeah. So, but the translation that they put is from Big Hit also on the music video. It's a broader thing. It's easier to consume. Right. So they're a little bit easier to understand. Like I think this one here, like when he's talking about like a journey through memories, he's like a journey through memories. Let's unpack it all. Like you don't see that in this. Right. But you get it. You understand it more by wording it that way. Yeah.
Trying to convey.
Yeah. So and like with this one, with him saying like my amygdala, hurry and get me out. Like basically like if his amygdala was like different, he wouldn't have some of these memories like because it controls like your memory and like and how you perceive it. So it's like like I
don't have to see the video. Like this is like in the progression of like, so in the beginning it's like young man on a journey, inexperienced, going by what was happening at the time. Same person on that journey learned and experienced things and realized that this is bigger than me and I can't change it. So what happens is like it goes from not knowing and having direction to like walking a path with my own direction, and now coming to the point of like accountability. Like I can't change the world unless I can change myself. Like that's like I said, I don't have to fucking see this video to get that concept, but just no, I want to see it, but it's like I can see like the difference of the progression of it all.
Absolutely.
His growth and what he's been able to see through the phases of his life that he's presenting as Agust D.
There have been all kinds of things. Echoing in my ears was the sound of the clock in my mom's heart. The news of my accident that I couldn't tell, and the news of my father's. I'm surprised they don't have the news of my accident that I couldn't tell. I can't believe she doesn't have context here. When he was a trainee at Big Hit, he was still working a side job because he was poor and he had no money. And he, while doing his delivery, it was like he was doing like a delivery job. And while out doing a delivery job, a car hit him, and he actually like injured his shoulder like really badly. Never said anything to the company because he was scared that they would force him to sit out and he would miss out.
It would prolong or replace him even.
Right. So he said no one to anybody, just endured. And it got so bad and he was in so much pain that it ended up being in 2021? 2021. I'm trying to think of what it was. He ended up getting surgery on his shoulder and he had to sit out for several like things. It was like the first time anyone's really been out from performing in events with like all 7 of them for like a prolonged period of time. And anytime that he wasn't with them for a performance, they just used the audio. Like, someone else didn't sing his part. They just used the audio of his part. They're like, we're not filling in the space where he was. We're not switching another member to sing his part. The space will be there, and you will hear his audio still. Cause...
So like when AT's... when he was gone on his like mental break, they still had that still present. Like in the videos.
He was still in the videos. Yeah.
But I'm saying like how they were doing it, even during live performances, we're gonna.
Well, no. With ATs for live performances, like Hongjin replaced Mingi. Like Hongjin would rap Mingi's heart.
Right. Oh, I got you.
But in fireworks.
But like in terms of context of the video,
For the actual music videos, they didn't replay. But they did put out a Japanese album after that, and Mingi wasn't a part of it, which sucked. But anyway, so that's how BTS handled it. Was they were like, we're not. Nope, you're gonna just have. But they also weren't putting out new product during that time. They waited.
I got you.
So that's a difference there. So anyway, okay. So the news of my accident that I couldn't tell, that's what that is. And the news of my father's liver cancer, I learned on a call during a schedule. I can only hope that my best choices were the right ones because they too have all passed. Would it be that all these pains are for me? The never-ending trials failed to kill me, and once again, I bloom as a lotus flower.
Oh yeah, I say that all the time.
Yeah, because lotus flower blooms even in muddy water.
Well, they only bloom in muddy water. No mud, no lotus.
Yeah. That's actually, I don't think I ever showed. Did I show you Lay's Lit music video?
No.
Oh, the one that was like basically like a fucking movie. Did I not show you that with the dragon?
No.
Ah, shit. Okay. Literally, it's called Lit, and Lit in Chinese means like lotus. So it's a play on words.
Yeah.
And like you see a lot of lotus, and and he literally references, blooming, from the ground, from the muddy water. So the first best choices, the second best choices, and then the second best choices. Things that didn't want to happen, things that were out of my control. Let's put them all in 1 and 2. 1 and 2 and 1 and 2. And before it said 1 and 1, didn't it? I think. Anyway, so I don't know your name, a journey through memories. I don't know your name. Let's erase them all one by one. My amygdala, hurry and save me. And then that repeats. Save me from here, hurry and get me out quickly. And that's the end. So, okay, now we're going to watch the last music video. And let's put this on the screen. Oh, that is the wrong button. That's the wrong button. Let's try that again. Let's put that on the screen. As you can see, it says this video may be inappropriate for some users. Click I understand and wish to proceed. And then we should have a second one. The following content may contain suicide or self-harm topics. I understand and wish to proceed. Okay. Hold on 1 second, because I don't think I wasn't able to do the settings because I couldn't get to it yet. By the way, I cried when I reacted to this, so I'm gonna try not to cry. I won't cry. I've seen it enough times. I won't cry. I'll be fine. But when I first reacted to this, I totally cried.
himself the scar. Yeah.
Sorry, the video glitched there for a second. I'm not really sure why.
Wow.
Yeah. It's very personal.
Yeah.
Very, very personal.
I relate to a lot of this shit too personally.
Yeah.
My mom having cancer and shit. I saw her the day she died. She was fucking great. And then she died later on that night. And it's like, not trying to get like too like deep into a lot of the concepts of what BTS and the BU provides. Like, but this, seeing more of what Suga puts out there for what he's dealing with is a lot of like shadows work, right? So that
he
memory
literally
of him
has
in the
a
past.
song called Shadow.
So like in the past, you know what I mean? Like that memory of jumping to the past, like trying that's him in the present realizing like if I could have dealt with this sooner,
right?
You know what I mean?
Right.
But like,
he didn't. Instead, he gave himself that scar. Like you saw, you're like, oh, he gave himself that scar. It's like,
and it's and like how I was saying when we were reading the lyrics a few minutes ago of like this song is about like accountability, like realizing because everybody gets to that some point in time in this lifetime if they're lucky. If not, you know, good luck in the next life. But it's one of those things of working on yourself. You project a lot because it's easier to process, especially like when you're a young person. You don't have any base of why you feel the way you feel, and as you get older, that kind of gets distorted, right? Because as a child, like, why can't the people be in places to help me to figure these things out? And something happens to your parents and you're left in this position and you're older, you're not necessarily like grown, but there's some level of experience and maturity that you've had to that point, but then there's still a lot of life that you haven't lived yet. And so when you start figuring it out by yourself because you don't have anybody else to fall back on, that you deal with a lot of those things and you kind of go inside and it gets very like turbulent on the inside because you don't know, you know, are you right, are you wrong? And I say that a lot in our BU videos as well too, that like I don't perceive it as anybody doing anything right or doing anything wrong. They're just doing the best that they can, and that's a big theme in this song of like with the choices, the first choice, the second choice, the third choice. But I'm at a point
I hope I made the right choices. Well, I can't do anything about it now.
Yeah, and also accepting, like, moving forward, like, can I learn from those choices to make better choices? But that in itself can be very suffocating. And that in itself can be very, like, frustrating and be just as painful regardless if you would have made a different decision at the time. So it's like, when you start being too analytical and hypercritical and hard on yourself, you start second guessing what you're going to do, and then you kind of, like, paralyze yourself in a lot of ways. You're not going to do anything because of your fear, your anxiety of what could have been or what should be. And it's just like, no, you can't live your life like that, but you have to kind of go through that adverse process where you're at the center of it. Yeah. Like, it's not anybody else who can support me or who didn't support me. It's at the end of the day, it's like, what am I going to do for the best for myself? Yeah. And then hopefully the things that I do best for myself, I can do for my peers, my siblings, my friends, my families, and whoever I come in contact in my lifetime. So that's this shit, like, resonates with me a lot. But then it also comes down to where it's like, you can try to, like, what I call, like, alchemy is, like, what I call it, like, right now for myself personally, because it's just like, I'm a very pragmatic person. Like, rules and standards are in place, but I also grew up disenfranchised and poor, where the system is built against people like me. But I also understand to, like, get through in life, I understand the concept of why there's standards and rules and etiquette and morals and all that other shit. But then when I was getting, like, therapy, it's very scientific, right? It's very scientifical. It's very like, oh, well, you experience XYZ in your life, and then you experience something after that, and then as you got older, you experience more things. You didn't know how to process those things. But I was getting the counseling to help me process with those things, but then it got to a point to where it's like, I got so heavy into the process, I didn't, like, really grow, like, spiritually. I was focusing more on, like, the science and the psychology and the emotional aspect about it, but I wasn't doing anything to fulfill myself, like, inside. You know what I mean? Yeah. Because that, it's hard to explain, to yourself and to whatever, and that's why I feel like the reason why I call it alchemy is because it's like, it's a very mystical mathematics. It's just as much science and math as it is, like, spiritual and supernatural elements beyond what we can perceive and comprehend, but it's something that we feel. We don't know how to explain it, but we know that it's there. So rather than just full on go one way or the other, you kind of find, like, this, you become an alchemist. You find this way to, like, taking of both of these worlds, of these dimensions, and how does that create levity and peace in your life? Yeah. And how does that make sense to you?
How do you make this work for yourself?
Yeah. And that's like what it really breaks down to. And of all of those things, like, you realize if you're getting therapy, if you're, like, on a diet, or you're working out, or you're, like, pursuing any type of career in your academics or your professional life and stuff like that, that's what, like, separates, like, religion versus spirituality. And that's how I sum it up to people, to where it's like, religion is something that you do kind of, like, to go through the motions, versus, like, spirituality is like a conscious practice. Like, even if you are religious, but if you're more spiritual in your practice than you are following a religion, from my experience, I found that people that take a more spiritual aspect of, this is something that I practice every day, win, lose, or draw, good or bad, I'm going to meditate, I'm going to eat right, I'm going to try to get enough sleep, even if I wake up on the wrong side of the bed, no matter what, there's things in play that I know that I can't control, but these are the things I can practice every day, because that is enough control to where it can soothe your anxiety, it can kind of cool your fear and stuff like that. So I think, like, the lyrics and how it's being presented visually in this, like, encompasses that, like, very, very well, and it kind of alters your reality when you step into that, because it's like, for me, and I think, like, Suga represents this, like, very well, that, like, at the end, it's his old self avoiding that accident by trying to save his current self, right? But it's all in his head,
and he couldn't get that door open,
right?
Because you can't change the past,
and you can't control the future,
right?
The future's not real, and the past is, like, for ghosts.
Yeah.
All you have is the present, but it takes a lot of time. Yeah. And for some people, they can just wake up one day and, like, at a snap of a finger, they're just like, I gotta change my ways, and they can do it. I know people that are like that. That shit's like an incredible skill. Yeah. But I haven't mastered.
I have not at all.
But it's also what I've also known, and in my personal experiences, there's a lot of people that are just like, gotta just trust the process. Yeah. And progress is a process, and it's just like, if you're not making any progress, change the process, because
Right.
we all get caught up in these things hoping that it'll work, but we have to step back sometimes and just be like, I thought that was the best thing for me. It's not working out. I can't delude myself. I got to continue moving forward.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's what he's like conveying in here.
Yeah.
Very well.
Yeah. I think he said that this is the last time we'll see this.
Right.
This Suga.
Yeah.
Like he's accepted.
Mm-hmm.
It, like you could tell it like at the end. Like I mean, the end I was just like, oh my god, why wasn't he able to open the door? Like what the hell does this mean? Like, and I was like, it was kind of upsetting to like just have it end like that, where he's just literally lying on this floor, unable to save himself, basically, and just it's raining on him, and he's on this floor, almost like looking like he's like kind of dead in a way,
also, And it's
just like, what does this mean? Oh my god, like, and it's a little, it was hard to watch. Like, it's just very hard to watch because it's his life. Like, it's not, this isn't a story. Like, this is his life. Like, and he put his life in different aspects of his life in these different MVs and stories, you know, the aspect of, you know, starting from nothing in the industry and, you know, working his way up and having everything and realizing he doesn't want to be that person. Then going to be like, even though he doesn't want to be that person, he's in this shit and he's in this position and he's, you know, he's on top and he's like, but I still don't want to be that person, but I'm still in this like situation in this industry, you know. And then we get the flip side, the personal side, and like we see how he got that scar,
right? And
we see that it was self-inflicted, and it was to deal with his past trauma, and you know, and it's just, you know, just to see how vulnerable all of these were, and I like in different ways.
I like how, like, this being the final chapter, that we actually see the three sides of himself in this video.
Yeah.
You know, we see like the past self of what he experienced to get him to who he is, and his potential future self with the scar, and that who he had been dealing with, like, back and forth. But him in the green, like, eating the almonds. That's like when you make that realization, that's like that practice mode, to where it's like, if the scar self is thinking about the past, and the past self was doing everything they could
to help
the future, the one in the present, it feels both. And it's one of those things of like, what am I gonna do? Yeah. To where, but taking that time to reflect and not intervene. Yeah. Because that's the thing. We see the past trying to intervene with the future. Yeah. But we see the neutral, like the green one. Yeah. It's just
where he's eating the almonds, just trying to make it better.
And he can see both. Yeah. He sees the accident in one, and then he's like watching the other one just kind of self-destruct. Yeah. In the other, and it's just kind of one of those things of like that rumination of just like, my life has been difficult, and that's been out of my control. But in the present, I have control, and I'm just making it more difficult for myself, for the future.
By focusing on what could have been. Right. Right. I gotcha.
That's really interesting. And at the end, you don't see that guy.
You don't?
Which is a nice touch. Mm-hmm. Because that's Suga. That's who he is now. Yeah. That's really cool. Right? Yeah.
I knew you'd like it. Yeah. Yeah. I knew that you would appreciate just the visuals of the MVs, of course, and the story he told through them. But I definitely wanted to make sure we read those lyrics, because his lyrics are just, they're really important. For and they're really personal, and I mean, he's written so many songs in the past that are literally directly talking about his anxiety and his depression, and he even has a song called The Last, where he literally talks about he's in therapy, and he had a therapist ask if he's ever, and he said yes, I have. And I think that's one of the reasons why I initially kind of cried in this one, is because when I first saw this video, and then all of a sudden you see him and he has the knife in his hand and he looks down at it, I'm like, I cannot see him do that. But luckily it wasn't what he referenced to in The Last, but it was still just him showing the self-inflicted scars, you know what I mean, just in general, and how he got that scar. And I was like, oh shit,
I've never personally did anything like that, but in terms of like the self-infliction on myself, be it like with substances and disassociation and like being like really reckless and careless and stuff like that. In my personal experience, it's one of those things of like that suffering in silence, even though I don't have any external scars anybody can see, because like from the people that I've interacted with, you know, personally, like, and in passing, like, they do that when they're on like the brink and things like that. But also there is some level of like therapeutic release from doing that after it heals.
Yeah.
Versus like, from my personal experience, like all my scars are internally and they're not visible, then that pain never goes away.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you have to work really hard for that pain, and
everybody
you'd have to eat a lot of almonds.
Yeah.
For that pain to go away.
Yeah. And it's one of those things that I commend a lot of people that go on that journey and that they can see themselves and move forward and have kind of like a reminder physically, because that physical sensation does change. I know the emotional scars are just there, but like for me personally, that's all I have. The emotional ones, and since I don't see it, it's just kind of like
it's always in your mind, because it'd be one thing as if it was like a physical one that you see, and but which I guess technically seeing it all the time would also be always on your mind.
For sure.
In a way, just in a different way. But
like, again, that's just like speculation on my part, that I imagine that from that physical pain and that release and that healing, like, yes, like when you look at it, it is a reminder, but you also know it doesn't hurt as much. Like that pain is still there, like versus like with all of my pain, it's like it's always there, and I don't know how to heal it. You know, because it's nothing. I can't put a Band-Aid on it. I can't put stitches on it. I can't. It's just, and when I think I get over it, it still like kind of lingers.
And it may not ever fully go away.
You're right, and I mean that's with everybody, and that's like the craziest like thing like altogether is like letting go of your programming and your conditioning and like your ego. And that this is like another point I wanted to make of like having that kind of like the three perspectives of like, the ego and super ego, your shadow self, your higher self, your lower self, or whatever. But like how we see in the beginning of the king with the scar and his rival with the scar, that corrupt cop with the scar, and him giving the scar. So it's like, again, you're ultimately turning into something that you don't want.
Right.
And
he like, keeps killing that version that he doesn't want to become.
Right, but he still always becomes that version.
Because he did that. He's the one who was responsible for that.
And I think Almond Suga is the guy where he realizes it. Like how to break that cycle ultimately. That it's no longer a cycle, it's a loop.
Yeah.
And it's been going through time. It's like a curse that he's held over, but it's like self-inflicted on top of that. So it's like, what can I do now to like, all right, nobody, at first it was out of my control. Like I didn't know any better. Yeah. So it was like, as a kid growing up, my ego was built on my surroundings. In the second video, it's like, okay, I'm not that person because I kind of conformed. And now this is what I built with my ego. I reprogrammed myself, but that's still not the move. Yeah. And then at the end of this trilogy, it's just like
admitting that I did this to myself.
Yeah, because that's the thing. We can accept, we can acknowledge, we can admit, and we can acknowledge. But like once we accept it, that's where the change, and that's like the hardest part to accept that there was that we are fallible, we are flawed, but that's not a bad thing. It's just opportunity to grow. So it's kind of like reframing in your mind, like all the things that you've gone through, like he says in this song, like all the things all the memories that I have that I wish I can let go, but it's just like it's what allowed you to get through whatever you needed to get through.
Right.
And where
you
are
had
now.
to give yourself the scar to get past those moments in your life.
But now that you realize you are in control and you can either continue these loops,
let it go.
Or you can let it go and you can try to heal. And that's probably going to be the hardest. And that's like what I'm going through right now. It's like the hardest part of my life right now. It's like I've been through all kinds of shit, but like me dealing with my shit
with
is
yourself,
like the hardest shit I've ever had to deal with.
Yeah.
This shit, man.
Yeah, it's crazy, man.
It is. Also gives me a lot more perspective of like in the BU so far, because it's like seeing like how RM's concepts, but seeing like how the little things of what everybody contributes and how their stories isolate, and seeing like these little kind of like vignettes of their own personal life, what they would want to share, and being vulnerable and open, gives it way more like
seeing their solo stuff and seeing what they want to put out,
and how they want to kind of like not necessarily like tie it in, but just like you can see when you step back as a whole,
you can see how
it's more real than it is like a story.
Yeah, you can see that there are aspects of the BU in there, like not in all of them, but like in little ways you can see how the BU is real for a lot of people. Like the things that are happening in the BU are very real for a lot of people, and you can see how even you can apply little things from the BU even to their own lives. So yeah, it's obviously not everything, but just little things here and there.
Yeah.
But yeah, so and it is interesting seeing the stories in the BU that they are sharing and the storytelling that they're doing in the BU, and comparing that to what they want to share with their own personal solos and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And seeing the differences or the similarities on either side. Yeah.
Yeah, and then putting together like the nuanced things of like watching the that intro video of like how prolific Suga is, and it's like it's a part of his process, not just like for art, but like how he processes and deals with his shit. Like he shuts himself in his studio, and he'll put out a fucking 200 songs in a year.
Yeah.
Not because he loves the music, but obviously he does love the music, but it's more of like a release thing. It's allowed him to find what he needs to work on.
Right. It's definitely.
Like, I feel like
it's a way to like almost. It's therapeutic for him in a way.
It is, but it's also like it's the best way to self-medicate, because rather than like numb the pain, it's like I have things going on, and they're not bad, but they're not good for who I am in the present moment. And if I just want to move forward in my life, even one day at a time, like I have to figure out. I have to be comfortable, or I have to be vulnerable enough with myself and honest enough with myself to acknowledge this neglected part of myself. And out of my parents' control with their illnesses and what they had to go through, and me trying to provide for my family and my surrogate family in BTS, like you can't work through your shit like that. You actually, there comes to a point to where you can be, where you're, the stars align, and you're able to find people that can bring this awareness to yourself, and then on your own time, at your own pace, you're created the space and the grace to kind of feel yourself out, to understand yourself more, versus like me, I'm in my fucking 30s and I'm going through this like right now.
Hey,
when I figured that shit out.
30.
Yeah, but it's like it's like one of those 29. Things of like, it's a process and phases. You think you got it figured out, and it works for a little while, but then you realize again, progress is a process. Progress is a process, and if there's no progress, change the process. And that's the thing. Like we get caught up in, let me do this better loop that makes me feel better than I did out of that other loop. But now we're just getting stuck in these same loops.
It's another loop. It's still a loop.
But rather look at it for what it is. It's a cycle. I was that person then, and I'm no longer that person now. And I don't want to be. I want to be better than the person I am now. And as long as you're trying to, even if it's just like a baby step a day, that's better than just being caught in another loop.
Yeah.
Because shit's gonna go through. Cycles and loops are two different things. Like cycles is the process out of your control, doing the best that you can, and the loop is what I've hit this wall. So now I just got to keep repeating and hope that
something changes. But if you're in a loop, it ain't gonna change.
Yeah, that's insanity. Bro.
Yeah. This was so nice. I've been dying to get really Carlos to sit down and have a moment to react to this with me. So I'm so glad we did this. This makes me very happy.
Hell yeah.
I knew you would enjoy it.
Yeah,
first of all, I knew you would just enjoy Suga's music in general.
Yeah. But again, like Suga and RM, man, they're like, we're from the same ilk, cut from the same cloth. Like not just like visually but like we're rappers. We dealt with a lot of shit. I don't know if I'm as smart as RM, but I understand. I can definitely feel where they're coming from and what they present. Like they speak to me. Yeah. Like I feel like they're just like, hey Carlos, you're not alone.
Yeah, exactly. Well, this was a long one. I knew it would be a long one, but if you've watched any of our other reactions, you know
this ain't nothing new.
We really dive deep, and we really want to appreciate and understand and discuss. And I personally think, and I know you agree with me, that ultimately this is what it's about, right? This is like why they make music, to provoke thought and interaction and discussion about what they're talking about and what they're presenting to us, and it does provoke a lot of thought and discussion.
And a lot of emotion.
Yes, and a lot of emotion for sure. So thank you for allowing us and being here with us.
Sharing this journey with me.
To just listen to our thoughts and our perspective on everything that they have presented to us. So if you're still here after this hour and 25-minute reaction. We very much appreciate you.
Definitely.
So please, please, please like, comment, and subscribe. We would appreciate that. And please let us know in the comments down below all your thoughts on what Carlos thought about these. I thought you picked up on so many aspects of these music videos. Once again, you picked up on so much that so many people did not notice or pay attention to.
I don't know if you've noticed, like,
the first time around
of this last video, like, you notice, like, when we're texting and stuff, when we talk, I don't ask people how they're doing. I always ask how you feeling.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's just like there's like a lot of like nuanced things of just like me feeling like, okay, I'm not the only like person dealing with some shit. Like other people see things in a similar like light, and this is fucking awesome. Yeah. And I hope that, you know, we can share, we can connect. Yeah. On a level that we can communicate. And how you feeling? Yeah. You know, if you don't have any opinions on this, how you feeling when you see this? You know what I'm saying? Like, we all out here. Yeah.
He loves reading the comments, so we would love to see your perspective on what Suga presented us, your perspective on what you think, you know, Carlos's, you know, interpretation, or how he understood it, or whatever you want to share with us in the comments about our reaction. We would very, very much appreciate that. We love to read your comments, so I would love to see that down below. So yeah, that is going to be it for this video, you guys. Let me get my outro pulled up. I don't even know where my mouse is. Oh, there it goes. Damn. It was like, nope.
Yeah, your computer is like, yo, Anitra,
my computer,
relax.
It's been on all day. It hates me right now. But anyway, that is gonna be it for this one, you guys. Please, please, please like, comment, and subscribe. And yeah, we will see you guys in the next video.
Vitas and motherfuckers.
Bye.